told anybody from the 1970s who played love songs all night that there's gonna be a time that people gonna be calling women bitches and it's gonna be normal, man, we'd have slapped your great-grandma and said, no way in the world that's gonna happen.
Did you get to talk to Miles Davis and any of those guys?
I talked to everybody. Me and Aretha talked, we have a conversation for an hour and 20 minutes.
Give me some good advice now.
If my sons hear me answering this, they're gonna be like, man.
The Carlos Watson Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance.
Hey family, it's Carlos Watson. I may have my favorite episode ever, and that's a lot to say. We've had so many amazing people, but jazz great Wynton Marsalis stopped by, and it was a conversation. It was a family conversation in the best possible way. We talked about life, we talked about love, we talked about music. It was unexpected, it was wonderful. I hope you find it a treat. Enjoy. Hey, how are you?
Man, good. It's good to speak with you. How you feeling?
Good. Where are you right now?
I'm in London.
Now, is London a place that you lived before, or is London just a place that you spend a lot of time in?
No, I have some people here.
You know, my claim to fame is that I've been to London 20 times, and it's never rained.
That's something to be famous about.
One of the folks I work with who's from London, she always teases me. She says, we might snatch you and bring you over to London and keep you.
You're a talisman.
Yeah, exactly.
See, right. You attack the boy. I've been there when it rained. Ooh, I need you to be with me.
Yeah. It can just, it can be too much. I enjoyed the thing you did with President Clinton not too long ago. How was that?
Oh man, I knew him for a lot of years, so it was more natural, you know.
Did you think about the connection of jazz to democracy, and what prompted you to do it?
I mean, I rap to him sometimes, not even in the context of that.
What's he like these days? He's not still playing himself at all, is he?
No, he's not playing. Man, you know, we slow down at a certain point, but he's still, you know, he got his mind with him.
Yeah.
But he's got a few physical challenges he's dealing with. You know how that is. We're all gonna go down that road. I
turned 50 not too long ago. You ever have any fears about getting older or not really?
You a baby, man. I still just look like I smell baby's milk on you.
You know, I was playing basketball not too long ago, and Wynton, you'll know what I mean when I say this. The young fella called me Mister. I didn't appreciate it when he called me Mister. That was not a sign of respect.
You were doing good if you're out there 50 and you just being called Mister.
Right.
I played ball my whole life, but the dude looked at me more than 9 years ago and said, man, Pop's out here looking like furniture.
I love it.
You know what I'm saying?
I love playing pickup basketball all over the world. It's been my way to connect with people, whether I'm in Peru or Colombia or Ghana or wherever. But the most interesting pickup basketball is in Detroit. It's still in Detroit. They won't let you talk trash in Detroit.
I've been there before outside of Croc Gym.
Yeah.
I got beat by an old man, Roy Brooks. He's dead now. When I was a kid, I was 22. He's a great drummer. And I didn't know he had played on an all-state winning basketball team. Man, I was talking so much. Boy, this old man took me out there. I'll never forget it.
I was sorry to hear about your dad. I love the way I heard you talk about him over the years.
He was a good dude, good man. I remember we put a basketball hoop up. Man, this when I was like 11 years old in my backyard. We went to the junkyard and we got some pipe. We lived in Kenton, Louisiana. We was country, man. You know, lived in segregation. So we went and got us a backboard from Sears. And we put the backboard up, no reinforcement. It just was straight up on the pipe. We drilled holes in the pipe. We dug it in the ground. The pipe had a sleeve so it could be 10 feet. And the goal ended up being 10'3", 10 foot, something like that.
Yeah.
So I learned how to shoot on a goal that was too high, you know.
Jazz is freedom of expression with a groove. Our music is the art of improvisation, and that can be analogized to basketball and music. And in basketball, you have your fundamentals, your footwork, the form of your shot. Now, after a while, you know, you start to improvise. So you might be able to make a layup, but then you put a little juke in there. You might throw a no-look pass, or you might go between your legs.
You still playing music a lot these days?
I play all the time. I mean, it's not, we don't have gigs. It's not, we can't get in front of people, but I'm still playing.
Who actually taught you how to play?
I had a lot of teachers. You know, my daddy was a teacher too, so of course I just learned from seeing him. But he's real serious about music, so I more learned to be serious about it. Because I like to joke around a lot. With my daddy, I was always playing with him. But he was serious. So I learned about music like as an art.
It's interesting, so many people have parents who are in a certain space, and so they probably take some of that from them, but not everybody breaks out in the way that you did. Why do you think you broke out in the end?
It's a mystery to me, really. It was more spiritual, because I wasn't playing nothing popular, really. I never thought about it. I'm not really like a kind of populist type of person. You know, I mean, I played in a funk band in the 70s. I had a good time, but that was never my thing. Like, you know, just kind of following everybody and trying to recruit people or going along with whatever was the fad. I don't know. I think I talked a lot in interviews when I was young, and I took what I was saying seriously. Some of it was controversial. I didn't know it was controversial, to be honest.
You know, I see people out in the audience, Americans too, and they'll and I'll be playing and they'll be going.
So it became more that than the music. And then along the way, I was developing my musicianship. I was always serious about it. But you know, it's hard to be really serious about something if there's not a lot of other people with you. And if it's something that's as isolated as jazz is and was. I was lucky because I had been around people so much and had such a good time, both and playing ball and being with my friends and, you know, playing in a funk band. I had a social life already when I was in high school. It was so expansive that once it came time for me to be serious and accept a certain type of isolation, I didn't want to accept it, but it was tenable. For a lot of musicians I've known down through the years, at a certain point when they realize that they're not going to have the type of fan base they want if they're real serious, it's too much. So, you know, I'm not judging them. I'm just saying it's a reality. And I understand it.
Why did you think that mentally you were tough enough to deal with that?
Man, I just seen my father and them struggling all that time.
Right.
You know, I grew up going to clubs in the South with 5 and 6 people in them. And you know, people struggling, man. People having a hard time. People with no money. They're not fancy clubs. It's just Southern life. And my dad was trying to play jazz. Nobody really want to hear that. Everything is segregated. But he could play, and he kept playing. So I guess with my early childhood, just seeing him and the way he was very cool and always very, he was humble, you know. He didn't complain about not having people, and he wasn't bitter about it. I learned watching him and listening to them play. And his band, it was like 4 of them, it was a quartet. And they always were scuffling, man, in their lives, in their personal lives, with drugs, some of them. A couple of cats died from heroin overdoses. It was in that time. So they live hard lives, but they love the music. I had a love for them as people. I didn't like the music so much, but I liked them.
What would you have done if you hadn't become a musician, do you think?
Man, anything. You know, I like teaching. My dad was a teacher. I liked science, anything in science, chemistry, something in the arts. Maybe I like to write. I had a good span of interest and stuff, and people. I had enough friends who were doing stuff. I always liked to hear what they were doing and see what they came up with. A good friend of mine in high school became one of the top chefs in America. So, you know, I loved him, just his passion for it. When we were in high school, he was always saying he was going to be a great chef. I was always teasing and messing with him, you know.
Our home is the training ground for her dreams policy. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
I saw you were writing a little bit on Black Lives Matter on Twitter. How are you thinking about the moment we're in right now? You find yourself hopeful? Because I've also heard you in the past say that there's rarely honest conversation. We go out of our way as a country not to talk about race. Do you feel like we're gonna turn a corner, or you feel like 2020 was 2020 and people are gonna try and go back to where they were as we go forward?
Man, you know, the future can't be known. That's the beauty of it. So I think if you grew up in the 70s, it makes you naturally cynical because of what happened in the 80s. If you remember those early 70s, there was a lot of consciousness in that time.
Yeah, interesting.
And if you're from the community of black people, man,
Yep.
everybody's looking at each other, dapping everybody.
Yep.
When I first came to New York in 1979, I had to learn how to not look at people. Man, in New Orleans, I was everywhere in New Orleans. I wasn't in no one place. I played in every area, it didn't matter. My mom was from the projects. My grandma lived there. I went everywhere. Everybody was, what's happening, bro? Look out. What's happening, little daddy? You know, you look at everybody.
Yeah.
Remember Marvin Gaye's music and Stevie? It was like a consciousness time in those early 70s.
Right.
And all of a sudden, when you start to roll around to those late 70s, you know, the air started to get a little tight. Then the 80s, the country backed away from the support that had been given in the 70s. Then we started, you know, we regressed, man. We started to have, I always tell people, if you told anybody from the 1970s who played in a funk band, who played love songs all night, the Commodores, the Ohio Players, you take your pick, the Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind & Fire, the reasons that we feel, you know, that's all we did, is play them gigs, that there's gonna be a time that people gonna be calling women bitches and it's gonna be normal. Man, we'd have slapped your great-grandma and said, no way in the world that's gonna happen. It's no way nobody saw that.
Why do you think it happened?
Man, it's a lot of pressure. There's always a lot of pressure to return to the minstrel show, man. Nations are like people. We all have some type of flaw. We all have something wrong with us. And each thing that we have is about us. Me, you, it don't matter who it is. Some of us do better jobs of covering it up. And with some of the more obvious ones, it might be substance abuse. Another person might be lying. I mean, nobody knows what another person's thing is, unless you're really close with that person. And for some reason, you return to that. Like I think of myself, the dumb stuff that I've done, man, I'll return to that stupidity over and over again. And I don't know why. Why do I do it? I don't know. So what can I say about our nation? Why do we return to it? It's what we do. But that said, every time I return to it, I say to myself, the next time I'm not returning to it. So you can't give up. You know, I mean, you got to keep trying to deal with improvement and betterment.
Have you found that you've broken any cycles? Like, have there been any of those really tough challenges that you fundamentally feel that you broke the cycle on and you're now in a different place on?
Yeah, some. But as you get to a certain age, you slow down. So you slow down and you also, man, you've messed over yourself so many times that you might stick your hand in the finger in electric socket 2 or 3 times, but you start to realize if I do this again, it's gonna be fatal. And that could be anything, you know. It's like you see people a certain age, they lost weight. You say, man, you lost a lot of weight. Man, the doctor told me I wasn't gonna be out here. Like you'll start to understand your mortality. You're forced to make more intelligent decisions. You may not even want to make them, but sometimes your time forces you to do it.
Was there a moment or an age for you where you felt like you started to have that resolve?
I don't know, you know, but it depends on what it's about. There's like different things you can be advanced in and other things you can be very stupid about. Like about playing and practicing and doing work, I was always advanced about that. Now there's other things, definitely in the dumb line, you know, no question.
Right. Man.
Definitely not intelligent.
Did you get to talk to Miles Davis and any of those guys when you were younger?
I talked to everybody who was alive when I was younger.
Right.
Me and him didn't have a good relationship so much, but he talked to me. Some of the things he told me would be funny. They'd be good advice.
Right.
And you know, Dizzy, all of them. I would go to cats' houses, man, and talk to them. If I saw them, I'd talk to them. I learned a lot from a lot of anytime I could be around the Giants, I got around them. And I was always asking them questions, and if I could play gigs, if I could be with them. And some were really like parents to me, because they knew my father. And, you know, the world of jazz, of that generation of people was very familiar.
Right.
So, when I was 15, 16, 18, I was always around the Giants. And I knew they weren't like other people that you knew. You know, Clark Terry, Sweets Edison, Dizzy, Miles, the list goes on and on. Art Blakey, Elvin Jones, John Lewis, Jerry Mulligan. I could just go. And the stuff they would tell you a lot of times would be spiritual, man. You know, it'd be like so many stories I could tell you about them.
I'm the son of teachers, and I'm always trying to learn. When you struck a chord in me when you talked about, do we make the same mistakes over and over again? And is it possible to improve? And so I'm always trying to learn from folks. What are some of the interesting things that they had to say? What still rings in your head years later? Just
funny stuff they would say, man. Like Dizzy called me one night, in Los Angeles. It was Playboy Jazz Festival, some 3 o'clock in the morning. Man, you up? Yeah, man, yeah, I'm up. Of course, I'm not up.
Right.
Yeah, I'm up. You know, I don't go to sleep dizzy. So he told me he went to the ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist said, if you play low notes, look down. If you play middle register notes, look in the middle. If you play high notes, look up to the sky. He said it was something. He said, it reminded me of a conversation I had with Louis Armstrong. I asked Louis Armstrong, Pops, we go back call Louis Armstrong, Pops, why you always looking up what you playing? What are you looking for? And he said, Pops told him, I don't know, Brother Diz, but I always find it. And he told me he moved around the corner to Pops' house after he was, he was dizzy at that time. He was establishing a star. I said, man, you the great Dizzy Gillespie, and you move around the corner from Louis Armstrong. He said, man, Louis Armstrong was so soulful. I knew something like that would never happen again. He said, I just wanted to be around what that feeling was. He said he went to Louis Armstrong's house for Pops' birthday to say happy birthday, and Pops met him at the door and gave him a shoebox full of weed. And he said, man, it's your birthday. He said, to give is to receive. So, it's all the kind of man, Jerry Mulligan. Yeah. I was talking to him about all racial, I was telling him about all the racial, white and black, what happened around the birth of the cooling with Miles, what's up with him as a white boy. I said, I was going into my thing. Then I was 22, 23, I don't know. I was deep into my thing. White folks, y'all did this, that, and this. He listened to me. He was looking at me like with amazement. I was just telling him straight out, And then when he got finished, I told him what Miles was doing and what they was doing. He was a part of Birth of the Cool. So when I finished telling him that, he said, well, did you know that Miles and Max got into a fight and we couldn't get another drummer? He said, did you know we couldn't? Gil Evans' old lady wouldn't let us continue to work to practice in their house. Did you know that? So he named 5 things I had no idea. And he said, I'm surprised they didn't teach you that in your sociology class. I got plenty of stories, man, from old great musicians. They were great, man. Sweets Edison was my mentor, man. I loved Sweets. I met him when I was 14. He played with Count Basie Band in the mid-30s. He the only person could tell you the story of him coming off the road and catching his wife in the bed with another man. And it was funny and tragic at the same time. So, somebody's got to die tonight. I mean, just the whole way. Man, the whole way. So when I was warming up, I was playing like a lot of notes. And he came in my room and he said, damn, you just played more notes than I played in my entire career. And ain't saying So, they were like that, man. They were soulful, man. John Lewis, I go to his house in the middle of the day. Him and his wife, Mariana, she was playing keyboard, 2 harpsichord. Man, he set up, put the music out. Oh, it'd take him a half hour. Get the music, looking at it, make sure I'm sitting right here. Now, I'm a man. I mean, I'm almost 40 years old, so I'm not a kid. Of course, he's much older than me. I'm older than his kids. So and they're adults. So I've got my music and he's telling me, that I go off of the melody too much. I said, man, you go off the melody too much. Play the melody the first time and then go off the melody. Now I'm looking at him and he's just playing, nothing that he's playing is written on the page. So I start laughing when he started playing the beginning. He said, what's funny? I said, but you looking at the paper, you're not playing nothing on the paper. He said, well, what's on my paper is implications. He said, it's like life. It's guideposts. Then he looked at me and said, you missed your entrance. So, I don't know, it's hard to tell that kind of story. You have to be there, but yeah. These guys, I mean, they were also Sarah Vaughan. Oh man, I remember Sarah Vaughan. I had learned a piece called Tonight I Should Sleep With a Smile on My Face by Duke Ellington. Difficult song in E. I was playing it on the piano. Boston Pops, we were playing together. And I said, I know nobody else 21 in the world know this song. It's complicated, but I didn't know one part of it. I didn't play it. Sarah Vaughan said, you're not playing the song right, baby. Now, what's the chance of Sarah Vaughan knowing this random song that's not famous? Right. Man, this woman sat down at the piano, and first of all, I didn't know how much piano she could play. Sarah Vaughan was the second piano player in Billy Eckstine's band. I mean, she could play. She played the first run she played was like, I started thinking, damn, she played piano like that and she ended up singing? Man, she played this song all the way through, and at the end she said, when you learn songs, learn them off recordings. Don't learn from music. I had learned it from music. I didn't know what the music for that was. And she said, and don't take shortcuts. You got to learn these bridges and all this. A lot of little twists in here. I just, yes, ma'am. You know, I had to just, yes, ma'am. It made me feel so good to just be around. I called my daddy. I said, man, I know Sarah Vaughan could play. He started laughing. He said, Sassy can play, man. Or she could play. Like she had extreme technical skills. I'm not talking about where you be like, she played where you be like, ooh. Aretha Franklin could play. I love Aretha, man. Me and Aretha talk, man, maybe we have a conversation for an hour and 20 minutes. It'd be like 12 o'clock to 1:20 in the morning. She would just go through thing. You know, Dorothy Donegan did this. And I went here and I saw this. I played this gig with John Coltrane. He told my girlfriend, I just love when, you know, she talk and be so down home. It remind me just, and she said, I know you're wondering, why is Aretha talking about all this stuff? She said, because you're the only younger person I know who knows who any of these people are. So, you know, I could go on, man, but I'm not going to.
Do you have any of the young cats like that who you spend time with these days?
Yeah, I have. I've been teaching kids for so long, and I know so many of them. Yeah, I love so many of them, and they can play. Huh. You know, and they're getting out here. John Baptiste is out there. He's known. I knew him since he was a kid. And Christian McBride, even though he's a little older, but still, I met him when he was 14. I love him. But, you know, you get that bond with him, like what I had with Clark Terry and them. And Emmanuel Wilkins, a great young alto saxophonist. Michael Thomas, unbelievable piano player. Yeah, a lot of them. There's a lot of great young talent. Cecile McLaurin Salvant, man, genius singer. Whew. Cecile she ain't a joke, man.
Really?
She's for real. Oh, she's genius. Now, she's like them old ones. People always say, well, nobody like, she is like Sarah Vaughan or something. You know, I'm not going to say that just to be, just like the old folks used to say, you just talking to keep your breath from stinking. I ain't doing that. I'm telling you. Cecile is, oh, man, she for real.
I'm going to ask you one question about dreaming fearlessly. Because I want more of us to do that, and you know that many of us are scared and it's hard to do. What do you tell people?
I think the most important thing is to find people that you would like to model your trajectory on. And don't be sidetracked by their tribal markings. Could be somebody who's not alive. Could be somebody from China, Germany. I always bring up the guy Mohammed Yunus. Created micro banking and made millions of people throughout Africa and Asia, made them have access to small amounts of money. He based it on one thought, that women are responsible and men aren't. Okay, he understood that. Yeah. And he started making loans available to women. And be $100 loan. And they always paid back. And they were able to do what they had to do and to grow. And I always love to use him as an example of a kind of brilliance that's not predatory. So if you develop your dreams and your brilliance around being symbiotic, like if I talk to you and you're not competition for me, man, I can learn a lot from you. Okay, you're 9 years younger than me, but you know, you put your knowledge next to mine, man, you know a whole pile of stuff I don't have no idea of. Now the two of us together, that's two big, powerful bases of knowledge. But if I'm fighting with you, man, I'm cutting my own knowledge down and I'm fighting with you. I'm losing energy, and a lot of times people get taught bad because the examples are bad. That's going to tie it back to what you're saying. Look for good examples. And you can fall short of them, but don't hate on them. Look for good examples and just try to, you don't have to imitate them, try to follow them. Because you're going to come with your own thing because you got that. And jazz is like that. Like I don't have to play the solo, man, you can play it.
Yeah.
I'll play a background. And that's what Sweets was saying.
Yeah.
Hey, Buck Clayton was Buck Clayton, man. I got to hear this man every night. I don't need him to not play so I can play.
I want advice on love. Give me some good advice now.
I'm not the right one to ask, man. And the only thing I'm going to say is, if my sons hear me answering this, they're going to be like, man, If you got to find somebody you got something in common with, man. What I noticed from seeing the older people with their, I have a good friend of mine from Germany who just passed away 2 days ago.
Right.
And I just talked to his wife today. He loved her. They were such a good couple.
Right.
And he knew he had a disease that was incurable. And he had come to New York, and we went out, and we knew that was like the last time I was going to see him. And we talked about his wife, because I never think about him without thinking about his wife. And we met. We were 20 something. Now he was maybe my age, maybe a little older, 60, 61, I don't know. And he said, man, leaving my wife is going to be hard, man. He said, we started to talk about it. And he just talked about all of what she meant to him and all of the support she gave him. And I knew when I first went to their home, we were younger people, man. They like jazz. He's a writer of music. And I talked to her today. He had passed away. And she, she was talking about him. And it was interesting. She said, well, I was blessed with those 25 years with him. And, it's very hard to have somebody love you like that and they're not here. She said, but he will want the best for me. And he will want me to. And I think, when you look at people, it's so much like physical and foolishness that gets in the way. And stuff is always in front of us, man. Buy this, sell this, you got to have that. And we're so hypersexualized from when we kids. It started in the 50s. By the time we get to your age, you younger than me, it was becoming even more advanced. And a person 30 or 40, they basically, I asked my students at Juilliard, what's the biggest difference between my generation and theirs? They say pornography. I would never think about that.
Interesting.
It's not a thought I would have.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have access to it like that. So I just think that, your values are just somebody who's going to be there with you that you can relate to. It ain't about how they look or what their race is. It helps to have cultural similarity. But the gene pool wants difference. It's very interesting how that equation works. As all the royals went crazy because they were inbreeding. You get Egypt, Spain, it don't make a difference where you look. So the gene pool wants a diversity. But you just got to have a common, some kind of common understanding. It ain't no mystery to it. It's not easy no matter which way you go. You can stay out here, you're going to have a hard time that way too.
Man, you making me think about your friend Denzel in Devil in a Blue Dress. I don't know if you ever saw that movie based on a book.
I saw it.
I
saw it. I love Denzel, man. He's genius.
Yeah.
I love him. I first saw him years ago in the Negro Ensemble Company doing a Soldier's Tale. We knew he was going to be a star, man. This was in the 80s. We knew, man, this dude is going to be a star. Adolph Caesar was in it. That was a good cast. In New York, Negro Ensemble Company, great. Denzel was a star from the beginning, man.
What's interesting is you have one of those memories like Clinton. Both of you, and I wonder if it's because both of you are musicians, you guys are able to connect a gumbo like most other people can't.
I think if you're around older people, because you cherish it, I had so many mentors and so many heavyweights. I always felt young, even though I was getting older. I always joke, I was 19 longer than any person on earth. I was 40, they were still saying I was 19. I still got older people calling me kid, because they're 80. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
Yeah, I just think the joy in life is people, man. You learn so much from people, and to have a blessing to meet so many interesting people, younger and older people. And the young people are a blessing too. You may not get along with them. They do things that get on your nerves, but you did things that get on the older folks' nerves. I got on Sweet's nerves. I got on Clark Terry's CT's nerves.
Right.
And Betty Carter, I know I got on her nerves because she cussed me out. So you know what I mean? It's
right.
But she looked out for me too. She cussed me out, but she looked out for me a lot. She looked out for our organization, Jazz Link Center.
Man, I didn't realize how much I needed to talk to you, but I did. So I thank you.
You're my man. Take care.
Yeah. Hey, I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Wynton Marsalis as much as I did. Didn't want to let him go. I know we took so much of his time, but what a warm, thoughtful, smart, worldly person. I really do hope I get to know him more and get to learn more from him. I love that he's learned from so many interesting people who are older than him. He clearly brings that generosity of spirit to the rest of us. I hope if you want to get more of his story and more of him, you tune into his wonderful new project, Democracy Suite. So many good things going on, so much to contribute. Be sure to try our podcast if you haven't already. Subscribe to our channel here to get notifications when more good shows are ahead, and tell a friend. Be safe.